Welcome to episode number 301 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us by searching Beyond Social Media Show. We are recording on March 28th, 2020. A lot of things to talk about this week, as usual, including COVID-19, brand heroes, Zoom into Beethoven, Work from Home Festival, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Just the Facts, Mucinex, Donate on Yelp, COVIDnearyou.org, Pandemic Polling, Work from Home Resources, Coronavirus PSA, Covering Coronavirus, No Refund for You, Trump's Cease and Desist, Bill Gates Lock It All Down, Cool Tools, Pro Tips, and remarkable ad spending decline. Some stats you'll want to know, so you want to stick around for that at the end of the show. But we kick it off with best story of the week, and BL always has that honor. BL, what you got?
Well, I think that the story of the brands that are doing good is definitely our best story of the week. And I've noticed a bunch of them. A lot of people have written articles about them. But Scott Monty is keeping an open running Google document list of brands that are doing good during the virus outbreak. And that's currently more than 9 pages long. And he said, when I began seeing a couple of stories about companies going above and beyond, it began with Comcast and T-Mobile lifting data caps and Grubhub suspending fees. He said, I figured there might be a trend here, and I decided the best thing to do would be to create a list and then divide it into categories. And then I knew my own view was going to be limited, so I opened it up for editing for anybody who knew of anything relevant. And you know how I feel about this is these are all brands we're going to want to do business with going forward. And there was a really interesting article in Ad Age from E.J. Schultz about how perilous a territory this is for brands, because they can be seen as taking advantage or being cold, or it's a hard thing to navigate. But anyway, the categories are, I feel like I'm going to say, and the award goes to, the categories are paying hourly workers even if out because of illness, closing but still paying workers, sports teams and venues closing but paying workers, companies that are extending services, suspending fees, free early release content, and then public health and community initiatives. And then Muck Rack also had a blog post that cited Scott's post of 25 companies engaging in social good. So, kudos to them. And that's who you want to do business with.
Very good. I'm glad somebody's compiling that list.
Yeah, you can add to it.
There you go. This is my wonderful story of the week. We all needed a little infusion of this. This is from a slip disc post by Norman Lebrecht, but I actually saw it first on Oprah's show on Apple TV. But the Rotterdam Philharmonic teamed up with a Dutch healthcare provider to play the finale of Beethoven's Ninth, which I believe is the greatest work of art ever created, bar none, Beethoven's Ninth. But they did it with all the musicians playing their parts on video from their homes. So it's just amazing. We'll embed it in the show notes so you can watch it. But then the Toronto Symphony Orchestra saw that and decided to match them by playing Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring in the same.
I love that.
So we'll put both of them in the show notes. What's the other name for Beethoven's Ninth, BL?
I don't know.
It's called Ode to Joy.
Oh,
that's absolutely what we need right now.
Oh, do we ever?
Yeah.
So many people are doing such nice things. Lucy and I took a dog training class this morning via Zoom, and from the School for Dogs. And tomorrow we have a dog yoga class via Zoom from Bond Video. And just people are doing things just to stay visible, to be nice, to be remembered, and it's just all very wonderful. One of the things that Product Hunt announced that their global, it's going to be a work from home festival. It's the Makers Festival, work from home edition, and it's going to focus on relief efforts in any form for the COVID-19 pandemic. And so there are a ton of products that are launching to focus on helping people during this pandemic, things like a rational shopping list generator, a mask matching tool, a self-quarantine book club, a database of projects looking for volunteers, a resource for supporting local businesses. And so they've also launched Product Hunt merchandise shop focused on the World Health Organization's COVID-19 response fund. So submissions to the Makers Fair Festival are open on April 2nd and close on April 16th. So there's going to be a lot of wonderful things in it, I am sure.
Very cool. Well, Yelp has added a new feature along those lines to help help small businesses that have been affected by the coronavirus. This is from a Matt Southern article in Search Engine Journal. So they are partnering. Yelp is partnering with GoFundMe to allow independent businesses to accept donations. So your loyal customers can now contribute directly to local businesses because Yelp is rolling out a donate button on the business listings. So it will automatically appear on Yelp pages for businesses like restaurants, nightlife related businesses, beauty and fitness businesses, and active life businesses. I don't know exactly what active life businesses means, but that's one of the categories. So the businesses have to have fewer than 5 locations. You need to have claimed your Yelp listing by March 22nd. So if you haven't done it yet, then you're not eligible. But those that had claimed it by March 22nd, there's another COVID-related phenomenon. Everybody notices that pets are in the office now. Yeah, so you need to have claimed your Yelp listing. Aside from that, you don't need to take any further action, but in order to receive the funds, you will need to have claimed your fundraising page on GoFundMe. But that's a nice addition to a lot of small businesses that have been really hard hit by this.
So many. I mean, really, it's incredible. Lucy apologizes for that. So here's a brand doing a good thing. Mucinex is fighting fake news, of all things. Kind of a different kind of outbreak has happened, an outbreak of fake news around the coronavirus, so much of it. So the source of this is Campaign Live. It's an article by Michael Huesner. And so their campaign is called Spread Facts, Not Fear. It's done in cooperation with McCann, New York, and to cut through the noise and encourage safe habits and elevate the voice of experts, unlike Trump press briefings. All elements of the campaign lead to COVID-19facts.com, a source of up-to-date information that comes from the World Health Organization, Johns Hopkins, and other actual experts. So I think that that's quite commendable on the part of Mucinex, of all things. I mean, they have that disgusting, snot person that is their spokesman.
Spokesblob. Yeah, so there's correcting facts, but then there's interpreting facts. And this is, I ran across a Facebook, somebody on Facebook was chortling over the rise in approval numbers that Trump has been experiencing. And,
unbelievable.
And so he's gotten like 60%, upwards of 60% for his handling of the coronavirus crisis, and has 47 to 49% approval. But I saw this Twitter thread by Jason Johnson. And Jason Johnson is a very smart political commentator. He's an editor, maybe editor-in-chief, I don't know, of The Root. But he's a pollster. And so he made a couple of points on the approval ratings and list them here so that you can kind of take these with a grain of salt. First of all, most Americans aren't online don't get their news online. They get their news locally. So most people watch the local news to get their news. And as a result, they just see snippets. So they don't actually know how bad Trump is doing. And they just assume that he's doing his best, right? So then the second point he says is that polling during the coronavirus is going to be tricky for a while, because reliable polls really use landline, cell phone, online surveys to get people. But what happens when millions of people are locked at home? You get more responses from different populations, so your results are going to be different as a result of just having a wider audience than you typically get in polls. And so the pollsters are catching people that they normally wouldn't catch, and that will impact those numbers. The third point he makes is the reason Trump's approval rating is up is a natural rally around the flag moment during a moment of crisis, where people naturally, approval ratings of presidents go up during times of crisis naturally. You saw this after 9/11 with Bush. But put that in context, things are bad, but they haven't gotten apocalyptic yet. Things are going to get things are going to get a lot worse. And he says once that happens, his mini boost will likely crater and stay there when people actually start, oh my God, this is a lot worse than I thought it was, and start paying more attention. And so it was an interesting thread. We'll put it in the show notes for people to follow. There's a lot more to it than that thread. But those are the three main points he made, which were interesting.
Well, I think as a data geek, you know that numbers can be made to say pretty much anything.
Yeah. One of the best books is How to Lie with Statistics.
Yeah, so I don't think that those are really something that tells the truth. Well, a couple of weeks ago, the president said that Google was about to immediately launch this big corona site, and that did not happen. But there's a coronavirus tracking site that's built by Amazon, Apple, and Google volunteers. And 30 volunteers from those three companies, from Amazon, Alphabet, and Apple, and other tech companies, they worked every night for a week to make a website called COVID Near You. And it asks healthy and sick people to share their symptoms. And this is from a Christine Farr story on CNBC. So they ask that you sign up whether you're sick or well, and then please share it with other people, because it's going to help actually track the virus. So the team includes designers, engineers, marketers, and they're now ready to go live with covidnearyou.org. It's recruiting people from all over the country to share what they're experiencing, if they have symptoms or they don't, as well as some demographic information. And if enough people use the site, and the goal is just to get to 100,000, they hope to fill in some of the gaps in reporting, because there's such a lack of testing. Like, we don't know how many people have the virus. And without widespread testing, we don't have a clear picture of where the illness is. We're basically flying blind. So they're trying to help with that. And healthy individuals who participate are asked to fill out information about their gender, their age, and their zip code, and then also whether they've received a flu vaccine. And it has a map of the various states, and it shows you where the outbreaks currently are. People who are feeling sick are asked to describe their symptoms, such as fever, cough, or shortness of breath. They're also asked if they traveled recently and if they've been in direct contact with anybody diagnosed with COVID-19. And the data will be shared, this is interesting, will be shared with public health groups, but not with various tech companies. And good for them. I mean, there's no way to know what's actually going on, because nobody's really being tested.
Well, actually, there are. I mean, one is do the testing. So that's a way of knowing. That's a way of knowing, is do the testing.
But it's not happening.
Yeah. But that is the most direct and obvious way of doing it. We did mention the smart thermometers on the last episode. That's another way of getting at the data. Another thought that I had too. I mean, this is an interesting project, but another thought that I had. You mentioned the data is not going to be shared with the tech companies. My thought was the tech companies should be asking people to share the data. So what you've got, Google, Amazon, and Apple all have microphones in their devices, and you should ask people as a public service, go and ask your customers, will you allow us to listen in to, because you can probably hear people coughing. You can probably hear things that are indicative of whether somebody is sick or not, and get that
Welcome
data
to
through
Black
the.
Mirror.
Well, there you go. I mean,
No, I
when
don't. I think that's a bit rash.
I don't know. When the going gets tough, the weird turn pro. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think so, Dave. I mean, I think the point that is clear is that they could, each of them and everybody could ask you to go to that site and participate in it. But, you know, listening in on my phone, aren't you already doing that?
That requires people to do stuff. And, you know, this is passive data gathering that, especially if you're really sick, you're not going to be putting the input stuff. You're going to be busy being sick.
Do you really think that Gmail doesn't know if you're saying to your friends, gee, I'm sick? I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're solving this problem.
I'm just saying it's probably a good solution.
Are you running for president?
Not yet. I think we need to get more listeners before I have a platform. The Ad Council has been running coronavirus PSAs. So I first noticed it as an ad before my Westworld show on HBO. And then I saw Flipbook. So I was flipping through my Flipbook feed, and there was an ad of black letters on a pink background that just said "Staying home saves lives," and it had a hashtag on it, "Alone Together." So I thought that was interesting. But the Ad Council's TV ad that they're running had motion graphics, no voiceover, and it just said people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you look for if a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently, learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.org. Together, we can help stop the spread. It's a laudable thing. We need those public PSAs, but I'm like, you really put a lot of effort behind that, Ad Council, because it's just motion graphics, no voiceover. Like, we just copy and paste this and get it out the door.
And I see it maybe 20 times a day if I'm watching TV. I mean, yeah, there it is. That and the New York State Health Commissioner, Dr. Zucker, and we see him every 2 minutes or so telling us to stay home, and I can't help but notice his comb over, and I find that very disturbing. Anyway, Randy Rainbow, who keeps us sane in the best of times, has a new one about social distancing, and it's just wonderful. It's just another great video from always fabulous Randy Rainbow.
There we go.
Put it in there, but you know, it's just great.
So one of the entertaining things that we've talked a little bit about this last week, but one of the things that has been entertaining me as I've been watching the coverage of the coronavirus nonstop, because I'm a news junkie and we're in complete crisis, so I need to know what's going on right now, is just all the different things that that we're noticing that we didn't have before. So BL, you had your dog bark, the evidence of pets in people's homes as they're broadcasting from their homes. You're seeing that. The anchors without professional makeup artists. So
yeah.
All of a sudden, all the talking heads, the beautiful people on TV look a lot different now that they don't have access to their professional makeup artists.
And hair,
right. Striped shirts. So people who are being interviewed wearing striped shirts, you never see me wearing a striped shirt during our podcast. It's always a solid color, because with a striped shirt, it creates that oscillating effect with video that
jumps,
is really kind of distracting. Keyboard tapping. So I'm hearing a lot of that when people are being interviewed, and especially if it's another journalist and they're talking, or they're on a panel and somebody else is talking and they're typing away. So you're hearing this tap, tap, tap of the keyboards. Poor lighting, of course, people with the window behind them, so they're just a silhouette. Poor sound quality, of course. You've got the feedback and the echoes. Guests on cell phones, so they sound like they're underwater. Ambient noise is amplified. So if there's a fan going on in the background, I heard that today, somebody had a fan going, you could see the fan spinning in the background and you could hear it any time he was on. Microphones brushing against the shirt from your like we had that problem a while ago. Managing pregnant pauses. So the pauses, you usually get this with international where you're interviewing somebody from Israel.
It takes a second
right?
for them
It takes
to
a second
hear.
for them to come through. But now it's everywhere. And the pauses are a lot longer. And there's a lot of crosstalk because the talented hosts are the ones who can manage those pregnant pauses and it's not awkward. You're not getting a lot of crosstalk. And then technical glitches. And the most recent one that I came across was on Friday. Nicole Wallace on NBC, her Deadline White House show. She was interviewing somebody from her basement and interviewing somebody remotely, and she got booted from her own interview. And so the host was left. He finished what he was talking. He waited, and there was the pregnant pause, and he waited, and he waited. And he waited, and he was like, "Have I lost you?" And he just stood there, and then it went black, and they went to commercial. She got booted from her own interview. It's hilarious. I actually have video of that. We'll put that in the show notes too.
That's funny. I was watching Chris Cuomo last night, and he looks great. He's in a studio, and he has beautiful lighting, and he had makeup and everything else. And everyone he was interviewing with looked terrible, pallid. And then he actually interviewed Dr. Zucker, the New York State Health Commissioner, who even with great lighting doesn't look great. And and he was like pink and like dark, and by now you should know better.
Wow. You give the amateurs or the experts who aren't on TV regularly a break, but oh my God, it is kind of jarring, some of the differences that you're seeing.
So the other thing that I thought was pretty cool was Elevate Network is a global community of women who are committed to fostering and promoting gender equality in the workplace. And they have launched Elevate's Action Network that hopes to help people working from home not to lose their minds. So it has articles, videos, podcasts, and a question bank and social share buttons. And, they're talking about helping your career to move forward, even though the world is coming to a halt. I don't know whose career is moving forward right now, besides the president of Zoom. But it's a good effort, and really they've stepped up. And all of the cultural institutions that are sharing their archives and making concerts and films and performances available, and it's just so wonderful. And for a lot of people, this is the first and only time they're seeing this kind of stuff.
It is. It's fantastic that they're doing that. What I'm concerned about is this is likely to last a long time. We have in the pipeline already a lot of entertainment that we can watch because it's already in the can. But think about Hollywood and the television shows, and all those things have come to a halt. We're going to start seeing after this, the entertainment is
reruns,
animation. It's going to be CGI.
Well, that's if anybody can go to work to do that. No, I mean, the season of This Is Us just ended with the best show in the world. And, I think they were already working on the next season, but nobody's working now. And, what comes next? I think nothing. I don't even think CGI is it.
One of my favorite shows, Deadwood on HBO, was canceled because of the writer's strike. So it ended early because the writer's strike, and it never came back. I was so pissed off about that because it's such a good show. Now it's pretty much all of my good shows are going to be, what am I going to do?
Oh, it's really great. We're going to have a lot of, reality TV shows when this all comes back.
First world problem, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's it for my good news, although I have some later. I'm on to bad news. How about you?
I got a bad one. Yeah. This is not surprisingly a Trump story. Also, Associated Press carried this. So Trump's reelection campaign is threatening legal action against local TV stations in Florida, Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin if they don't pull a anti-Trump commercial that has been running that was produced by Priorities USA Action Fund, a Democrat PAC. It's a 30-second spot, and they have responded to the cease and desist by the Trump campaign by soliciting financial contributions to keep the ad on the airwaves. They are using, the ad uses Trump's own words and an animated graphic superimposed over Trump's face that illustrates the exponential rise in COVID-19 cases, all the while Trump is, in his own words, saying it's a hoax and denying it and minimizing it. And so, I mean, the reason it's in best in terms of it can be in either category. The reason it's in worst is because it was a stupid tactic by the Trump campaign, because all it did, they're not going to get it taken off the air. It drove earned media. So there's a bunch of free, everybody was showing it in the evening newscast. You watch the whole thing.
I've seen it.
There's lots of social sharing, and we're going to share it. And we're talking about it, so you can see it, and we'll embed it in the show notes so you can watch it yourself. It's pretty good.
Well, the other awful thing that's happening is, well, among the other awful things that's happening is a week ago, I guess, Dr. Fauci kind of, covered his face, and that has created all these conspiracy theories about how he's part of some secret underground trying to overthrow the president, and it's getting literally millions of shares, and the world is nuts. But this is really South by Southwest was canceled, and you will not get a refund. And a lot of other events are this way too, because this is force majeure. It's, act of God beyond the control of the company. So, and anyway, South by Southwest didn't have insurance. How stupid is that? So this is from a Haymarket story, and the South by Southwest organizer said any and all payments made to South by Southwest are not refundable for any reason, including without limitation, failure to use credentials due to illness, acts of God, travel-related problems, acts of terrorism, loss of employment. And so you're shit out of luck. In a perfect world, every brand and every corporation and every human being would be doing the ethical thing. They'd be compassionate. They'd be showing their core values, but we don't live in a perfect world. And, there's hope. I mean, there are those people who are putting their money where their mouth is, but millions and millions, I mean, plus the fact that Austin is devastated by not having the festival, but a lot of people had hotel reservations besides all that, airline reservations and all of that. Forget about it.
Yeah, it's a mess.
That's a good way to say it.
The problem is how do you keep it from becoming more of a mess? And Bill Gates kind of has it. I think more people are coming around to this idea that we're not going to get through the best way to get through this quickly is to have a complete nationwide shutdown rather than each state determining or locality determining whether they're going to shut down or when they're going to get shut down, because things are going to pop up in each location. But if we shut down the entire country for a short period of time to control the spread, then Gates is predicting that the number of cases will peak in late April. And otherwise, it's exponential growth because it's growing here and there and everywhere. And in the entire country, unless you do it at the same time, then we can get through this and start to rebuild, basically. But I don't know.
Well, my friends have gone to their house in Massachusetts, and they want to come back next week to water their plants and check on their house. They may not be able to do that because now Trump's talking about shutting down New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. The last time that happened was 9/11, and they actually closed the bridges and the tunnels. So you could not get in and you could not get out, which is the stupidest idea yet. But, the whole thing is just so out of control that it's hard to know what to think anymore. But I do have some shiny new stuff that is related to the virus. I don't have any more bad news other than we could talk about the president for a while more.
Yeah,
Um,
let's not.
let's not do that. My favorite one so far is how is how much toilet paper, which is an app that will calculate how long your toilet paper will last, because as everybody knows, you cannot buy any. And so it asks you, you know, how many times a day do you visit the bathroom? How many sheets do you use? How many rolls do you have? I have enough toilet paper, according to this app, for 147 days, so I'm pretty good. But most people don't.
I don't have any stuff, so you got it's all you
Okay,
got the
well,
authority yourself.
okay, I got Wash Your Lyrics, which is by Neon Cloth, and I love this one. You put in like any song that you choose, and it puts in the lyrics in a poster, and so you can sing that song with the actual lyrics. You know, not just like the chorus that you know. So I did like Aretha Franklin's Respect. And so when I wash my hands 40 times a day, I can sing Respect, which makes it more fun.
Does it come with lamination?
No, it's a virtual poster. You could print it. You could print it. No, it's not laminated, but it should be, right? And then there's an app called Find My Pasta, which is only for iOS, but it lets people report and track empty shelves, so you don't go to a store where they don't have what you need. And then MyHeritage, this is a clever thing because they're one of those DNA testing companies. So they've come up with colorized family photos, and it's free. You have to register, and so you can also build your family tree with photos, explore your global database of records, of birth and marriage and other records, to learn about your ancestors. So I took one of the black and white baby pictures that I had and colorized it. I'll put it in the show notes, and it does a pretty good job. It's really fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's also Home Screen, which is a newsletter about daily life on the internet. And that was created by TC Softtech, who's a game developer and a writer and executive editor at The Verge. He's the guy who created Is It Canceled Yet, which is a website that tracked things as they were being canceled, but of course it's inactive because everything is canceled. But the newsletter has new stuff that he sees online, and some internet classics that have been pretty fun to see. And if there's something that you love online, he would like you to email tips to Homescreen at The Verge, and he'll consider including it. So, you know, if it's a fun website or a game that nobody knows about or some kind of event, virtual event, let him know. And there's also Indoor Voices, which is from a group of talented friends on the internet. And some of them are at The Verge, and you should bookmark it because it's got lots of great resources. Billboard has a list of live streams and virtual music concerts. Did you do supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Now I saved that. Let you do that one. Go ahead.
Okay, this is so fun. This is by Daniel Matarazzo, and he did it on Twitter, and it's supercalifragilistic with coronavirus-inspired lyrics, and it's hilarious. And so I will put a link to that. And then Zoom has announced free accounts for all K-12 public schools, temporarily removing the 40-minute limit from free basic accounts. And administrators, staff, and teachers just sign up for a free Zoom account, and then they can have access to it, and all basic accounts will have the time restriction lifted from their school, and teachers can log in, schedule their classes, send out invites to students for virtual instructions, and the students don't have to have a Zoom account. They can just join classes using the links that the teacher sends. So that's pretty wonderful of them.
Yeah, it is. I had long discussion during a virtual happy hour with my friends last night about how this whole virtual learning is going to work with their kids, because who knows? You just a lot of pitfalls. How do you know that a kid's going to be paying attention to? You're going to put a kid in front of a screen for 12 hours, 8 hours or whatever a day, every day, and I don't know. it's a big experiment that we have no clue how it's going to work.
Well, I happened upon a video this morning from a girl who is on the honor list. You know, she's an exceptional student. She and her mother are presently living in a shelter. They don't have, the shelter doesn't allow internet access. They were given an iPad, but the iPad doesn't have internet access. So what they do is they go out and they use the hotspot on the mother's phone for the kid to try and do her lessons. And she says, I'm probably going to have to redo the year, which is probably what's going to happen to the kids. They probably will have to redo the year.
No.
You know, which means you're losing a year of your life.
Yeah.
Oh.
On the plus side, that's a long time for kids. A year is a short period of time for you and I, but for kids, it's a pretty long time. So
remember summers? Remember how long summers used to seem?
Forever. Yeah. Yeah.
Now they're like, whoosh, gone.
Mm-hmm.
But this past week was like a year. I swear. So that's all I got.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. This is ad spending. These are some remarkable numbers. This is from Eric Savitz at Barron's reported on it. The Interactive Advertising Bureau released a survey of 390 media buyers, planners, brand executives, about what their advertising plans are for the rest of this year. Nearly a quarter have paused all advertising spending through the second quarter. Another 46% are reducing their budgets. The 44% say the impact of the current slowdown will be substantially worse than in 2008, 2009. Another 30% say it will be somewhat worse. For the March to June period, digital ad spending will be down 33% compared with the original plans. The outlays on traditional media down 39%. The first 2 months of that period are expected to show even deeper declines, with spending off 38% on digital and 43% for traditional media. For May and June, 28% of the respondents expect to cut digital media spending and 35% reduction in traditional media. The group expects steep spending reductions in every category, including digital display, video and audio, linear TV, terrestrial radio, print, out-of-home, and direct mail. The least affected will be paid search. Spending, though, is expected to fall 30% in the March to April period from previous plans, and outlays for May and June are seen to fall 21%. But the biggest hit is being taken by out-of-home advertising, which is projected to fall 51% in the first 2 months and 41% in May and June. So this is just devastating to the ad spending budgets.
Yeah. We're going to have to call this the mostly depressing episode of the Beyond Social Media show.
Last week was pretty depressing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the end of this one, and this is called. I want to thank you for listening to episode 301 of the Beyond Social Media show. To find us, you just search Beyond Social Media show, and wherever you listen to your podcast, we're there. We're on YouTube. We're on our blog, beyondsocialmediashow.com, where you'll find the show notes and links to everything we talked about. I'm here with David Erickson. On Twitter, you will find him as D. Erickson. On Instagram, D.E. Erickson, which I remember as Dear Erickson. And on YouTube, he's eStrategy, and he blogs at eStrategyblog.com, which is a wonderful thing that you should subscribe to. I am BL Ochman, and I am on Twitter as What's Next. I blog at What's Next Blog, YouTube, What's Next Blog, and my website, blochman.com. And for just the fun of it, Lucy the Rescue Puppy on Instagram. And Beyond Social Media Show again, beyondsocialmediashow.com. And on Twitter, we are at BS Media Show. And we'll be back same time, sometime next week. And our time has changed in its importance, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks for watching and listening.
Thanks for watching.